The most impressive room in Ellis Library is the Grand Reading Room on the second floor. Originally called the General Reading Room, it looks much the same as it did when the library was built in 1915. The room is 130 feet long by 42 feet wide. It has oak tables and chairs for 260 readers, 10 to a table, and the floor has cork tiling. Presumably that is to soften the noise. The stacks around the walls can hold 10,800 volumes. They look like they are made of oak, but in reality they are metal. The architect was inspired by Trinity College Library, Cambridge, designed by Sir Christopher Wren. Like that library, the reading room windows on the north are 2 stories high and have the same rounded tops. The windows are not only attractive, but they serve to provide light to the reading room. While the room does have electric lights, until recently they were probably never adequate for lighting the reading room properly. The original ceiling was painted in white to reflect the light of the windows. The vault is broken into sections marked by a wave pattern and is simply decorated with a few rosettes in the corners of the sections. The decorations and the sections, now that the ceiling has been painted, are much easier to see. Underneath the third floor hallway was the delivery room. This is where you submitted book requests and picked up books. Originally, the reading room and delivery room were open to each other, but at some point a wood partition was put up between the 2 rooms, and a smaller entryway was created. This model shows the layout of the delivery room. The room was above the exhibition lobby in the middle of the building. Behind the delivery room is the hallway that connected the main building to the book stacks. 2 large windows flank the hallway. On the first floor, the hallway is blocked by the door to the Art Seminary room. In the delivery room, the hallway is open, but protected by a desk. Bookshelves were located behind the desk, probably for reserve books, and behind those shelves were 2 doors to the book stacks. In addition to the flanking windows, there were windows in the hallway to bring light into the room. This is a picture of the delivery room. The bright window behind the men is one of the flanking windows. The other windows to the left are in the connecting hallway. The doors to the book stacks are not visible, but would have been behind the reserve shelves. The room has 15-foot ceilings, and the beams match those in the exhibition lobby. When air conditioning was installed in 1958, most of the ceiling was lowered and the beams were covered up. The desk was made of wood, but the paneling behind the card catalog was probably made out of metal. At the entrance of the reading room, the columns, column capitals, and the balustrade that goes along the third floor hallway were all designed by the architect. The architect's plan called for the large door frames and moldings on the east and west side of the room to be made of wood. But if you tap them, you will find that they are made of metal. The doors themselves were also probably made of metal. In 1915, these doors were purely ornamental. On the other side of them is a red brick wall. The wall will be opened when the east and west wings are added to the building, but that will be over 2 decades for the west door and over 4 decades for the east door. The greatest change to the reading room comes after the west wing is constructed in 1936. The bricks behind the ornamental door are busted out, and a real doorway is installed to provide access to the new reading room in the west wing. Not content with 1 door, 2 other side doors were also added at this time. Behind the door are students registering for class. You might notice that the bookshelves do not have books on them yet. The 3 doors did not stay open for long. This picture from the 1940s shows that the doors have been blocked by bookshelves. It is hard to know if this was done to control the flow of traffic into the room, or if it was simply because the library needed more space for books. You might notice that the table lights have also changed. The 1938 report of the librarian says that these new lamps were built by the building department. In 1936, a large reference desk with its equipment is installed in the room. The room is slowly being changed from a reading room into a reference room. At some point, perhaps in 1958 when the east wing is erected, the 2 doors on either side of the middle door are closed off and the wall is filled back in. The desks in the reading room continue to be modified. In this picture, you can see the microfilm reader has been added to the desk. This is sort of a workstation for the mid-century scholar. There they could consult books or microform copies of newspapers and take notes. In the background you can see the leather doors that separate the reading room from the delivery room. These doors were taken down at some point and stored away, but they have recently been refurbished and put back in the reading room for the centennial. In 1958, the general reading room becomes the education library. At some point, the statue of James Rawlins, the father of the University of Missouri, was moved from the exhibition hall, or main lobby on the first floor, to the education reading room. Later on, the statue was transferred to Jesse Hall, where it resides today. Sometime in the 1970s and through the 1980s, the room, or at least a part of it, became the reference room. It stayed the reference room until 1984, when the South Addition was constructed. The last major change to the room occurred in 2004, when the walls and decorations on the ceiling were painted. The next time you are in the reading room, go to the west wall and look where the two flanking doors used to be. You can tell where they were quite easily if you look at the baseboard, which changes from marble to wood, and then look at the shelves, which change from metal to wood. Tap on the old shelves to convince yourself they are metal, and then tap on the metal door frames as well. The fireproof metal doors are a reminder of the fire that burned down Academic Hall, as much as the columns that stand in the red quad. Think of all the students that have studied in this room, and all the changes the room has gone through, but how, essentially, it is the same.